Hello, I'm Nerino Petro, Practice Management Advisor for the State Bar's Practice 411 program. And we're here today to talk to you about metadata. The question first is, what is metadata? Well, in its simplest form, metadata is nothing more than data about data. What do I mean? Well, if you think about a file that you save on your computer, metadata is things like the name of the file. It includes information of who the author is and what the company is, the name of the computer it's worked on, the total editing time that you may have worked on a file, hidden comments or tracked changes, names of previous authors, that kind of information. It's data about data. Metadata only exists in electronic files. The thing about metadata is that in and of itself, metadata is not evil. We generally hear about metadata because it's made the news because of an inadvertent disclosure of confidential or other information that is damaging to one side in a transaction or litigation. But in and of itself, it isn't evil. It's how it's put to use that is the real key, and that's the issue. If we've got this metadata, how do we use it, and how can it be used against us? Well, let's talk about some examples. Here's one of the easiest. Let's say you get a contact from a client. She wants you to do a new lease for a building that she has. You think to yourself, that's great, I just got one doing something similar for another client last month. I'm going to bring that document up. I'm going to just make the changes to have it conform to what this client needs. And then because they do their own leasing, you send them the Word document, and then you send them a bill for 4 or 5 hours worth of work. You get a call from the client. She says, Nerino, a great lease, thanks for getting it to me so quick, but I have a question for you. Now, I got your bill, and you've billed me for 5 hours worth of time, but when we opened up the file and we were looking at the information, it showed that you only spent about 30 minutes editing it. So how come I got a bill for 5 hours, but it looks like you only spent 30 minutes working on it? Wow, how would you like to have to deal with that telephone call? That's one example. Another example, you're exchanging information with a client on a potential deal, and you're embedding comments in the Word document that the client and you are both doing. You forget to remove those comments when you send that document back to the other side. In it may be information regarding the amount of money your client is willing to accept, what they'd like to get, but what the maximum or minimum that they would accept would be. And that gets sent to the other side. It's inadvertent, but they now have an advantage because they know your bargaining position. So these are just some of the examples of metadata and how they can affect your case negatively. Now, the thing to remember is this. Metadata exists in any electronic document or file. Often, for the most part, we hear about it regarding issues arising from Microsoft Word. The reason is that Microsoft Word never really provided tools to deal effectively with metadata. In fact, initially, Microsoft seemed to take the position that this wasn't a defect or a bug, this was a benefit because you could put all of this information, you could find all of this information, you could track all of this information. WordPerfect, while it does do a better job of dealing with metadata and always has provided better tools, includes metadata. Adobe PDF documents include metadata because it's electronic data about data. So all files have it. Microsoft has done the poorest job until recently of providing tools to deal with it. So how do we prevent the inadvertent disclosure of metadata? Well, first of all, you've got to get into the habit of using metadata removal tools. And so when we're talking about managing metadata, we're really talking about keeping your secrets secret. And the options for the sending attorney, quite honestly, are to always scrub a document, and that's what it's called when you remove metadata, is to scrub the document before it goes outside of the office. With Microsoft Office, if you're using Microsoft Office XP or 2003, Microsoft provides an add-on utility that can help you deal with the metadata. There's always been some question about how effective that add-on tool is, but I will tell you that if you have no other tools, it's better than nothing. However, starting with Office 2007 and now Office 2010, Microsoft recognized that this was a losing battle for them, and so they included much better tools inside the programs themselves, inside of Word and Excel, to deal with metadata. They've provided dedicated tools to remove metadata from documents and allow you to do this easily. Other programs such as Adobe Acrobat, WordPerfect also provide tools for dealing with metadata. So that's one option, is using the native tools that may exist in the programs that you're using. Another option, and generally considered to be a better option, are third-party metadata scrubbing utilities. Utilities such as Payne's Metadata Assistant, Litera Metadact, Workshare Protect, a number of these types of programs. The big thing about these programs is they generally tend to work automatically. If you're going to use the tools in Word 2007, you have to use that tool on every document, and you have to remember to do it because it won't happen automatically, and it's a manual process. The third-party tools are designed so you don't have to think about it, because you don't have to worry about scrubbing the document until you're trying to send it out of your office. And these products look at your email, your Outlook email, for an attachment. And if it finds an attachment, it's not going to let you send it without taking certain actions. Now, generally these include cleaning or scrubbing the document, and then you can send it in its native format, such as a Word or an Excel file. Or, which is even better, you can scrub it and then convert it to a PDF file, which is a best practice. Whenever possible, if you're going to send an electronic document out of the office, you want to do it in PDF format. While PDFs still have metadata associated with them, when you convert a document from Word or WordPerfect to a PDF file, much of the metadata that is in those original files is not converted when you create the PDF. And to the extent that there's still metadata there, you can use the tools in Acrobat, and even other PDF creation programs include tools to remove the metadata. But with these third-party scrubbing tools, it allows you to remove the metadata from the native document and then to create a brand new PDF that's been fully scrubbed and send that document out. So that's really the best practice. There will be situations where if you're working on a document in negotiations, you're not going to do that because you're working on a Word or a WordPerfect document and you're going to want to exchange the original file. But in all other instances, best practice is to send out electronic documents in PDF format. That also provides some additional protection, that it makes it a bit harder for the other party to make changes to the document or to alter the document. They can do it, but it's not as easy. Those are some of the best practices. Getting into the habit of scrubbing the documents if you're using a manual tool as included in Microsoft Word 2007 or 2010, doing it in every document. Using a third-party tool, and the third-party tools range in price for an individual from about $30 up to about $90, and using that tool, you're going to want to establish a policy for your office. The policy could be no documents are sent out attached to email unless they have been scrubbed and converted to a PDF format. That's if you don't have the automatic tools. If you do have one of these third-party tools like Workshare Protect, then the policy is everyone must use the third-party scrubbing tool, must use Workshare Protect on every document before it's sent out of the office. If there's going to be an exception to this policy, then you must see and insert the party you want to do. But maybe it's yourself, maybe it's your office manager, but someone has to approve that. We don't have to create a 500-page tome for a policy. It can be rather straightforward and simple, but create that policy so everyone knows what to expect, and then you can follow it. What we need you to do then is, one, be aware of metadata and how it can affect you. This is really important in light of the recent ethics opinion from the Ethics Committee of the State Bar of Wisconsin, which in June of 2012 issued Ethics Opinion EF 12-01, the transmission and receipt of electronic documents containing metadata. And basically what this ethics opinion says is this. One, as a sending attorney, you have an obligation to make sure that that no significant information is included in metadata that is in a document that you send out. And the reason that this is important is because they go on to find that if you're a receiving attorney, there's nothing in our rules of professional conduct that prevent you from searching the metadata, looking for information that you can use to best represent your client. Now, if you do come across what you believe is an inadvertent disclosure of this privileged or confidential information, you do have an obligation to notify the sender, but you don't have to return the information to them, and you are not prevented from using it to your advantage. So that's why these best practices come into play. That's why you want to get into the habit of scrubbing documents before you send them and creating that policy for everyone in your office to follow. If you do that, you reduce the risk of inadvertent disclosure of privileged or confidential information in these documents. You'll stay within the bounds of what our ethics committee has stated is what we need to do as attorneys here in the state, and you'll avoid any headache or grievances filed with the Office of Lawyer Regulation. So if you'd like to learn more, by all means go ahead and contact me at practicehelp@wizbar.org or at the number shown on your screen. I'm Nerino Petro, and thanks for watching.